Blog Talk Radio.
Please take all the necessary precautions to protect your constitution while listening to this broadcast. 3, 2, 1. Coming to you live via the internet. It's time for Rage Against the Regime. Let's get ready to rumble! Finally, a show for patriots, defending the Constitution and uncovering the truth at every turn. Bringing you exclusive interviews and covering the topics the mainstream media doesn't dare to touch. Call in and join the discussion at 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. And now, here are your hosts, Bobby Who's the Man and Becky Williams. Rage Against the Regime.
I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Welcome back to Rage Against the Regime, ladies and gentlemen. This is a breaking news broadcast brought to you live. It's 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, July 16th in the year 2015, and we have had yet another terrorist attack on American soil. Bobby's joining me today, as well as many others. We've populated this to the best of our ability. If you guys that are listening in wouldn't mind continuing to share that information on pages and threads, comments, whatever, get as many people listening to this show today as you possibly can. Bobby, are you with me? I can't hear you, brother, and I don't see you on my board. Hello, Bobby. I cannot hear you. Bobby, if you can call in on the other line until we figure out how to set this up for co-hosting from my board. This is a new format, and I am having some difficulty. I do not see you and do not know how to bring you in as co-host. So, Bobby, if you can call in to the 929-477-3565 number, I need you on here, brother. We've got a mess going on in America, and we need to get this information out to the folks who haven't had time to see the news today. Couple of things are going on. We have a bomb scare at the Georgia facility, Center for Disease Control. Most of you know what that is. There are several facilities across America, actually across the globe, but across America that they house diseases like Ebola and anthrax and smallpox and God knows what other diseases that can wipe out entire populations. So we've got a couple of different things going on today, coupled with the fact that Jade Helm was actually officially started yesterday. I don't know that I can call any of these events coincidence today. We didn't see a lot of activity or action yesterday, but we're certainly seeing some things go on today that are very disheartening. Bobby, have you joined us?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Brother, I don't know how to figure this new board out, but I'll figure it out. Just not today, apparently.
Well,
Bobby,
you know what? It would have been beautiful to be able to do that because it was bringing me in on a direct contact, and I was able to have my internet open at the same time, so I was actually able to, follow the emergency alert, but unfortunately, the way that we're doing it right now, I will not be able to do it, and I want to apologize to anybody that hears any background noise. Unfortunately, I'm still at work, and it is what it is, but we've got plenty of information and news that needs to be shared, and let's get to it.
Well, I tell you what, Bobby, this is very disheartening. A couple of things are going on. I'm watching the mainstream media. I woke up to this madness because I was up all night working, and I slept until about 2:30 this afternoon, and then spoke to you, just directly after that. I was unaware of what was going on, obviously, because I was grabbing some much-needed rest and relaxation. But Here's what I'm very disturbed about is the mainstream media's refusal to call this international terrorism. This guy was from Kuwait. They tried to give us indication early on that he was a homegrown terrorist, insinuating that he was an American. He absolutely is not. He's Kuwaiti.
They still are. Becky, they still are. Didn't mean to cut you off, but they still are.
Yeah, well, and that's where I was going to go with it. Is that's very disturbing in itself. But this is the end result, people, of the illegal immigration coming through the borders and being shipped in by this oligarchy, this rogue government that is run by the Muslim Brotherhood and the UN. It's obvious. Obama is an enemy of the people. He's an enemy of the state. He's a usurper, and we are in clear and present danger. We are clearly being set up after 9/11, Bobby, and the 9/11 commissions that were put into to position or place, being completely destroyed by Obama and his Muslim Brotherhood regime. The Department of Homeland Security is not that. I would suggest that we give it another name. How about the Department of Homeland Terrorists? Because these guys have done absolutely nothing but expose us to the deadliest, most confrontational minions that walk the face of the earth, and they're bringing them in by the thousands, Bobby, on planes every day. They are pouring through the borders. We know for a fact they've come through the Mexican border. Now, I don't know much about this guy, and I haven't had time to do research, Bobby, but my guess is he was imported by government, or what we would think would be government. We don't really have a government, people, but we don't know if he's been brought in by them or if he snuck through the border. But what we do know is they know who this person is. He attacked two, not one, but two military facilities. Our unarmed soldiers were slaughtered. 4 of them are dead. 2 were injured, and they killed the gunman. And a tweet was sent out. Bobby, tell me where you found that tweet. What's going on with that?
With the fleet?
The tweet.
Okay. The tweet. I'm like, the fleet? What are you talking about? We're talking about something else already. Actually, the tweet was it was put on Twitter today, and it was it was found by, I believe it may have been some patriots, may have been some militia members, or it might have been somebody part of the military. All I know is that tweet was generated, and it was out floating around. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, there was a tweet put out today by ISIS talking about pretty much saying that there was going to be an attack in Chattanooga, Tennessee today, and that you're going to be able to blame ISIS for it. And then it said something about Americans 0, ISIS 1 or 2, or I don't know, whatever the hell it said. So, I mean, what we're looking at right now, this is the thing that bugs me the most. Exactly what you were talking about. Now, I'm not going to pinpoint any names. I'm not going to embarrass anybody right now, but I'm really, really pissed off myself. I was contacted by, I'm going to say, about 4 different people that I have very, very much respect for. Okay? You guys, I have nothing but respect for you, but I got some phone calls today from people telling me that our people did this. Okay? That patriots and militia members are the ones that did this, and that they attacked our own people. And, when they told me this, I'm going, huh? Oh, yeah, they were drawn upon and they had to fire. And I'm thinking to myself, this doesn't sound right to me. Okay, maybe, with the whole Jade Helm thing, maybe that was a true story, whatever. You know what? There's so much bad information going around that somebody is generating bad info and sharing it with people that, that are people of we'll just say of stature, and, you know, they must be convincing them of, you know, these farce stories, and, you know, they're generating it, and when you're getting a message, I'm just going to use somebody, for instance, you get a message from, I don't know, pick some top patriot, anybody, you know, and you know that they're good for information, then chances are you're probably not going to dig deep and go, okay, you know, how much truth to this or whatever. You're probably going to end up putting it out. Well, that's probably what happened with them. You know, they got information probably from the same circle. You know, one person probably shared the same information to 4 or 5 different people, and now, you know, they started sharing it to people that they thought needed to know. So I'm one of the people that got a call from like 4 or 5 of the, you know, people from, they're not actually directly related in the same groups, but I'm sure that they know each other. And I'm getting the same information, so I'm thinking to myself, wow, you know, and then I'm thinking to myself, you know, a couple of them told me, don't share it on Facebook yet, let's see what happens. One of them said, man, run with it, put it out there, let it be known, and I'm like, no way, no how am I putting anything on Facebook, you know, that has our name on it without having more information and something better to go on than, you know, knowing that there was actually a shooting going on and everything else. And you know what? Because I got the information from who I got it from, I shared it with 2 people that I thought to be important, that being you and Bill DiGirolamo. And, you know, I didn't share it with anybody else. Thank God. Thank God. Because I would be looking like an idiot. But then again, I did tell you guys. I did say to you two, it's probably bad info, and, you know, we don't have all the answers and whatever, but this is what I'm being told. So now, we're guilty people. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about us, the American public, the American people. We are guilty of putting out bad information and running with it, and you know what? It really raises a stir. It creates problems within our own communities. You know, what if people started acting on that crap?
Bobby,
You know
I've got
mean?
Bill Bohart. I've got Bill Bohart's microphone open. Bill, you want to answer
Okay, here,
that,
let me
brother?
mute myself. Hey, Brother Bill, let me mute myself.
Yeah, I think I'm on here.
Hey, Bill, welcome to Rage Against the Regime. I really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks
You're
for
one of our
having me.
fill-in co-hosts, and you're a very knowledgeable individual. Can you answer some of the questions maybe that Bobby threw out there so that we can give some validity to the information that we're disclosing on the shooter in Chattanooga, Tennessee?
I didn't catch all the different his questions. I was calling in and.
Oh, okay, brother. Have you heard any more about what's going on in Tennessee, brother? As we speak, they're not telling us whether they're going to call this international act of terrorism or domestic act of terrorism, but he has been tied to ISIS via the tweet 15 minutes before the attack.
Yeah, I saw that, and the mainstream media is still calling it a domestic terrorist act. Of course, I just turned that down so I wouldn't get background noise. But yeah, all I know right now, basically what everybody else knows at this moment. I saw his latest tweet, and I got some information. I guess this is off his Facebook page about his name and the picture with the tattoo around his neck. It says "cut here."
Okay.
It's still fluid, you know. We're still trying to figure out what's going on. It's a damn shame. I want to know why our Marines aren't armed to the teeth. The only lawful standing army in this country, and they're expected to walk around unarmed.
Even on a facility. I think
I don't
that was
care where they're at. They're the only lawful standing army in this country, according to the Constitution. You know, they're were the division of the Navy, still are, I suppose. And why aren't they armed? Why can't they fight back? Marines fight. That's what they do. you know?
Well, what I'm trying to figure out is why is mainstream media still reporting that this is a domestic terrorist and they keep calling him a homegrown terrorist? He's not homegrown. He's not from here.
They want your guns, Bobby. The guy had a big black gun, so paint your gun pink before they come after your black gun. They want your guns, that's why. They want all our weapons. That's just, I mean...
Oh, no.
That's not just opinion. I mean, that's a fact.
Oh, absolutely, and I know that's the final outcome. I mean, that's what they want. They want our guns. They want us to be under martial laws. You know, they don't want us to have any freedoms. They want to take it all away from us. But on the same token, I mean, we know who this guy is. The information has been put out. We know that he is not from here. We know that he's a Muslim. He has ties to ISIS and everything else. You know, mainstream media needs to give up on saying, "Hey, this guy is a homegrown terrorist." He's not homegrown.
I'm going to say it. Welcome to Obama's jihad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, brother. I agree 100%. And that was hence the statement I made. They're bringing these people in by the hundreds of thousands. They can give us any lying number that they want to give us. My roommate flies for United Airlines, and she only flies internationally, and she's the flight service manager. So now it's been 4 years. 4 years ago, she was very concerned about the number of Muslims that were being brought into the country on her flights. Sometimes as many as 200 to 250 Muslims in one group being brought over here from Europe on her trip back home when she finished up work. And that didn't matter whether she was flying into France and coming home, if she was flying to England and coming home, even if she was going to Dubai and coming home, it didn't matter. There was always a big group of Muslims. Now, you do the math. If they're coming in like that on her plane, they're coming in like that on all international flights, or most international flights are going to have a group that they call refugees seeking asylum. It's bullshit.
I'd like to know
bullshit.
What the Air 160 is bringing. It used to be Air America. It's called the 160 out of Campbellsburg now. I'd like to see what they're bringing in besides opium.
Yeah. So this has been going on even before Obama. Bush started doing it. It's been going on since 9/11. DHS was supposed to have been, and the new TSA was supposed to have been the new most elite security that we could have in this country to save us from people like the CIA bombers. There's some quotation marks there and a little yuck on that one. Or the bombers of, you know what I'm saying? They're supposed to save us from the terrorists around the world, and they're run by terrorists. They are the terrorists.
To my knowledge, the TSA's not stopped one terror attack to date. What they've put in place for is to punk America up, to get them used to it. You know? Get them used to rubber glove treatment.
Well, we know the training camps are here. We know about Dearborn, Michigan. We know about Islamabad. We know about the Syrians that are being brought in. And by the way, people, these are not Christians who are being slaughtered over there by the Muslim pigs. These are Muslim pigs that are being brought into our country. We don't know anything about their background.
Across the southern border.
You're exactly right. We don't know anything about their background. You know, here's my deal. You know, people say, Becky, how can you be so cold-hearted? These people just want a better life. Well, you know what? You want a better life. We're in a world of poop here, and we can't fix our government. We're trying to fix our mess. Don't come to my country and bring your shit to my country. Don't bring your terrorism. Don't bring your poverty. Don't bring your disease. Don't bring your pedophiles and murderers. Do not bring your drug cartels. Don't bring your human traffickers. Listen, I've had enough. I'm fed up.
You know what? I got a question. I got a question for both of you. What's it going to take for us to finally go to their training camps that are here all around the United States? What's it going to take for us to go there?
We should have already done it. We should have taken them
I'll
out.
be right back.
If our government,
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Our
Hello.
isn't allowed to go there. They'll never be ordered to go there. The only thing that's going to save us is our patriots, our 3%ers to grow a pair and go there. I mean, it's obvious that this oligarchy is not doing a damn thing about what they already know exists. They know it. We know it. It's no secret. I mean, and this isn't just theories. You can go to government websites and pinpoint these installations. It's fact. There's no question. This is not a theory. We're in a world of shit, fellas, ladies and gentlemen.
We really are, and they're all around us. And listen, Bill, I do something a little out of the norm, and I don't know about my listeners out there. And I do see from time to time some of my my friends on my Facebook list will be on the same thread. But what I do is I like to go to the opposition pages. I like to go see what they're talking about. I may or may not include myself in that conversation, but I most certainly watch them. Just like they watch us, I watch them. Anybody that's not doing that, you need to do it. Because if you just stay in your own little circle of friends, in your own little communities, in your own little favorite pages, and just share information that everybody else is sharing, you don't really know what the activity is until you go to the pages that are obvious opposition, either to America,
Keep your
they have
friends
no
close,
allegiance
your
to
enemies
us.
closer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I go in and I start watching them. And what I'm seeing is very, very concerning to me, Bill. I see time and time again the Muslims, the radical blacks, and the Hispanics that have invaded our country, and even ones that were born here getting on that bandwagon, forming a coalition.
Sorry.
No. They're forming a coalition to come against us.
I'm sorry about that. My son called me.
Absolutely are.
So I asked a question about the training camps here, and I'm sorry I didn't hear the message. I mean, hear the answer. What's it going to take for us to finally go there and say enough is enough? I mean, we need to do something about these camps. I mean, where do you think they're coming from?
My answer, Bobby, was you define us as U.S., United States. It's not going to happen. The military's not going to be ordered to go there. They're not going to go there by design. It's not going to happen. And what I was saying is it's going to take the 3%ers, the patriots, to get together and grow a pair and go there. We're going to have to do the dirty deed, and there's going to be lives lost, blood spilled. It's going to get ugly. I don't really want to see that, but boy, when somebody forces your hand, what do you do?
Yeah, but you know what? That might be one way that they drag us in so they can finally start taking us down.
Yeah. Are we going to play on their terms, or are we going to play on our terms? When you take a defensive stance all the time, the war is lost before the battle begins. You just can't keep doing that. You just cannot keep taking a defensive posture all the time because you're playing catch up. You're leading from behind is what this administration currently has proven that they're really good at, is leading from behind. I'm not going to say that the Bush administrations or the Carter administrations. I mean, I can go back my recollection to Nixon of my awareness that they are leaders per se, but we're never going to lead by playing catch up. Never. All we can do is sit around and lick our wounds and bitch and piss and moan and post on Facebook and Twitter and wherever. We're not going to cure a thing.
I agree.
And that's getting old. It's getting old. Nothing's happening. I mean, we're actually producing more and more keyboard warriors. That I'm all about that patriotism and put me in, coach, and whatever, and I'm a patriot, this and that. But you know, let's not put no boots on the ground. You know, I mean, it's pretty sad. But you know what? I think more and more people are really waking up. I really do.
Well, we've got some so-called militia people that are heavily involved in a lot of the different militias, and I know especially there in Texas, that are quite frankly naysayers. I mean, every time something happens, these guys work really hard to cool everybody off, and I agree, cooler heads need to prevail. But man, there's a couple in there that just every time. I mean, I would say if you walked in their house and robbed them, they would hand over their weapon. You know, I don't know.
Wow.
I'm just. This is what I'm seeing. I've been trying to get unity and stuff going for a little over 4 years heavily. I've been at it for 30 years, but heavily on social media and even in private. I'm seeing a bunch of people that are just steadfast on leading from behind. Seems like the thing to do these days, and it's just going to get worse. I'm not calling for all-out war, and I don't want to see it, but what are we going to do? When are we going to stand up and say enough's enough? Stop killing our Marines. Stop killing our cops. Stop killing our children. You know, look at Planned Parenthood. How many black children do they kill every year?
Millions.
You know.
That's not a lie. That's millions.
The black community should stand up and say, stop killing us.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about the whitey. Come on. It's not about the mean old whiteys. It's your oligarchy doing it.
Well, you know, Carla called me. She goes by Thunder on the radio, and I've had her on as a guest before and been on her show. And she is a Native American black individual, and she said that, you know, if with the coalition with the radical blacks and the Muslims, that if in fact there are blacks that were killed, that were these Marines, that would put a rift in between the black population in the South and their coalition with the Muslims and the Muslim Brotherhood. I pray to God that would be the case, but you have to wonder, because they represent the American flag. They represent everything that we're seeing be destroyed and decimated on video while they laugh about it. You know, I'd like to come up on one of those stupid little hags stomping on the flag, because she would leave it on a gurney or in a body bag, you know, wiping her ass with the flag or whatever. But I certainly hope that Carla, I hope that you're right, sister. I hope that if they were black Marines, that this would actually bring back or unite the people, rather than see them go out and praise Allah and this obvious terrorist for doing what he did to these Marines, because that's really going to infuriate me to come across a video saying those filthy swine needed to die, praise Allah, and all that kind of crap. And we know we're going to see these things after an incident like this. They're going to brag about it, and their supporters are going to brag about it. But yeah, I better not come across somebody doing that in front of me, because all hell's going to break loose. I'm not going to be nice about it. Listen, I got the money to get out of jail on an assault charge. They better know that, and it's worth it to me.
Yeah, you know what the problem is, though, Becky? She's got a point there, but look at how many videos of supposed black Christians act just like the ones that are for Nation of Islam, and they've got the same message, you know, talking about kill whitey, blah, 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 and they're delivering the same damn message that the Muslim blacks are bringing. And it's not a race. We're not trying to turn this into a race thing. I'm just trying to point something out. There's no difference. There really is no difference between the two when it comes to their mannerisms and how much hatred they have towards us.
Well,
look at the video you posted earlier. Look at that video you posted earlier. Perfect example. Those guys were all Christians.
Part of the problem, Bobby, when I have a hard time calling out black Christians per se. It's ignorance. It's not just blacks. It's across the board. It's the level of ignorance that's in this country, all over the world. Some of these folks, I'm not going to call them too lazy, but they're not informed. They're not informed, and they base their opinion, and they follow the leader a lot. I mean, you have a lot of copycats that pull this crap. And they really don't know what they're doing. They just want their 15 minutes of fame.
Jared's in chat, you guys. I did a mass contact. Bill, you're a part of that group, and Jared is saying that next step will be martial law. This, in fact, could be that. It could be. Bobby called it the other day when we were doing the show. He said, Jade Helm has officially started, even though we know they started before July 15th, but that was the number. That was the day. And he said, we're going to see, you mark my words, we will see a false flag or an attack now that Jade Helm is in position. And we could very well be, this could be that, but I don't think that it is. But we don't know. We don't know. That's why this is breaking news. It's speculation at this point. The things that we do know is he was Muslim. We know that Muslims are not, Islam is not a religion of peace. There are no moderate Muslims. When Muhammad smiles at you from behind the counter, that little bastard is laughing at you because you're filling his pockets to be able to further activity like we witnessed today, to build the mosque and to give him money and his buddies money to bring their people, more people over here to finance that travel, and also to take over neighborhoods and buy out the nicest property. They don't buy out the slums and live in them. They buy out the nicest property because everything that they make after operating costs, due to the prioritized bills that are specifically for Muslims that comply with Sharia law, no taxation, no interest on monies at banks. So these people don't have to go through the same scrutiny that you do in order to finance anything. Their backgrounds aren't checked. They have everything handed to them. And in my opinion, Bill and Bobby, this is the booty or the bounty that's been paid to them up front to do what they're going to do and what we're witnessing unfold. This is becoming more and more frequent. We saw the shooters in Garland. We've seen the beheading in Oklahoma. That was just one that they actually they played down. They said it was an act of workforce violence. No, it wasn't. He's screaming Allah Akbar, cutting this lady's head off and trying to cut another lady's head off. He's a Muslim, he's a terrorist, and he had radical ties on his social media Facebook account. And they
I'd like to throw something
call it what it was.
That backs up your what you're saying about the 3 stages of jihad. If I get folks to go to answeringmuslims.com, David Woods, and then I have no interest other than I've been to this man's website and he knows what he's talking about. He's a biblical scholar. He's a Quran scholar. David Woods does a great job of explaining the 3 stages of jihad, and if folks would just go to that and just take his references. You don't have to listen to him. Don't have to watch his videos. Just take his references and go read the Quran. Go get
people won't.
An English translated copy of the Quran and go read it. The 3 stages of jihad. It's spelled out in black and white. I mean, there's no denying it. And even some of the people that have converted to Islam thinking that it's some kind of a good deal. Whew, boy, it's not. I mean, it's scary. And I just wanted to throw that in there for people that to confirm what you're saying, Becky. I mean, it's the 3 stages of jihad.
Well, let me give you something that's even more disturbing, Bill. I was estranged from my daughter for 5 years.
Right.
She showed up at my house the other day out of nowhere. I was elated. I got to see my 4 grandsons. The oldest one will be 14 in just a couple of weeks. And, of course, I'm trying to get caught up, and Alec's sitting at the table with us, and I'm talking to him. And I said, are you doing good in school? And he said, yeah, I'm doing okay. And his mom goes, hey, wait a minute. You got in-school suspension. Tell your grandma why you got in-school suspension. And he said, because my teacher said I was giving her intimidating look or something like that. And she said, no, you tell your grandmother the truth. And so it turns out that he was reciting an Islamic prayer that he's learned in Common Core because he was angry that Jesus was mentioned in the classroom. And he wanted to start quoting to me the separation of church and state, and he did it to mess with her. Well, number one, I don't want my grandson knowing an Islamic prayer. I don't want him repeating one. He would have no knowledge of that. We come from outside of being a state of heathens. We also come, he knows about Christianity. This child knows about Christianity. He comes from the knowledge of Christianity. What I came from, I tried to make sure they did not know. And so up until 5 years ago, I pretty much had very close contact with him and taught him about Jesus and taught him about the Bible. And he said this to me, and I stopped him right there. I said, first of all, don't quote things that you don't know. The separation of church and state has absolutely nothing to do with religion in school. It had to do with religion and government, okay? It has been taken out of context. That was done when that atheist bitch, who, by the way, died when they found her body, she was decapitated, that took it to court and had prayer removed from school. And curriculum, any biblical, like the Abeka program or anything like that, could no longer be used in the schools. Common Core has been in our school system since 1954. It was created in 1945 by the UN. Muslims, it's written by and published by Muslims, and it's marketed to our schools by our very own government under one of their umbrella companies for federal funding. Our government has hoarded out, our school board education system has hoarded our children's souls out for money, for federal funding and favor in politics. That is what Common Core is, and you have no idea how angry that made me. And let me tell you, not just for the obvious reasons, what got me motivated politically in this fight to begin with, and y'all have heard me say it, is Common Core. It was called C-Scope. When I found out about C-Scope, I was estranged from my family, but my grandchildren happened to be in a school district in Waxahachie, Texas, where it was being taught. And I rode the ass of my legislators, my congressmen, my representatives, both state and at a municipal level to a state level and even a federal level. I got involved. And I called their superintendent for their school district over there on a daily basis. Anything and everything I found out about Common Core and it being UNESCO, I imparted that knowledge to that superintendent. And I said, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to get off of it because he was like, ma'am, are you going to call me every day? I said, you can count on it.
Common Core also incorporates the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. They're using several, it's a multifaceted attack. And that's what a lot of folks don't understand. It's not one or the other. It's not, it's a multifaceted attack. They're using everything they can. To clower and pivot. It's they're using everything they got.
Well, yeah, because if they can turn your children away from you, Bill, if they can turn them away from truth and have them fixated on the ideology that is being implanted in their brain subliminally and even on an upfront and in your face Common Core curriculum, then they've got our kids. Our kids are going to battle us all day in argument, and they're never going to be on board with us. I had a nephew, 26-year-old nephew, sit across from me at Chewy's. I invited him out for dinner and a drink, and we got into a political discussion, and he's gay. And he looked at me and he said, well, when all you old people die off, we can run the country like we want to. And I looked at him and I said, let me tell you something. I changed your shitty diaper, and I'll put you in a friggin' coma, boy. Don't you ever look at me and tell me when all you old people die off, we can run the country like we want to. I said, you just disrespected me in the worst way. One, my life has no meaning to you. Two, you have no respect for my knowledge and wisdom as an elder. And 3, I provided you proof, and you still come back at me like that? Don't you ever talk to me like that again.
Wow.
He's educated, and he's educated, and he has a bachelor's degree. He's been to college. He's not a stupid man, but that's what he said to me. So to have him say that to me and have my 13-year-old, he's going to be 14 in a couple of weeks, grandson sit there and want to debate me on church and state, which he's been taught incorrectly, and then tell me he's reciting an Islamic prayer and got in trouble for it and defied the teacher and basically cursing God or the fact that Jesus Christ was even mentioned in that classroom, and I don't know in what context that happened.
You know what you're describing is a psyops, using cognitive dissonance as a weapon. Psyops.
Well, and we're right, and that's why Bill
stress and confuses people with many different ideologies and beliefs.
Well, now, you know what? Now that I'm back in his life, hopefully with the help of God, I can straighten him out and help him to understand that what they've done to him is wrong and what they have taught him is wrong, and that is a damnation that he cannot escape if he does not rebuke it. And this is what we're facing, people. You guys that have kids and grandkids in school, in public school, this is what you're facing right now today. And this is why they're moving over to the Communist Manifesto.
You've got close to 300 million people suffering from the same problem because, as you said, that the Common Core started back in the 50s. It wasn't called Common Core, but we all, I remember how pissed off I was when I started learning the truth about things.
Yes.
All these things I learned in school, grade school, and high school, there were a bunch of lies. Which I was a C student, but still, I did accidentally learn some things, and it was a pack of lies, and how pissed off I was, and people that I was supposed to look up to and trust lied to me. Whether or not they knew it, I don't know. I can't make that call. I suspect they absolutely did, and it's a curriculum that's been around for a while, by whatever name you want to call it.
Yes, it has been around for a while, and they were real clever at first. It was called something different in every state. In Texas, it was Cisco, but in other states, it was by another name. And my legislators promised me in the state of Texas that in the school year of August 2013, that Cisco would no longer be in the curriculum, and they friggin' lied, Bill.
Yep.
They didn't. They were right. It wasn't. They changed it. It went to Common Core across the board. They removed all the little fancy names that they had given it from state to state, but they continued to put Common Core in place. And when I found out that the entity that is operating as a nonprofit organization that is making billions off of this program across this country, it's a circulation of money and corruption by way of the UN and the Vatican and the American government, or the oligarchy, because it's not a government, it's a bunch of mafia pigs. They are the ones who are actually marketing this, and this is how it goes. We'll give you X amount of dollars in your federal funding for your educational program, but we want you to put this curriculum in your core. Here we go. And then I look further and I find out that it's being published by a Muslim-owned company, and I find out even more than that. I dig a little deeper, and I find out that it's a bunch of Muslim scholars who are actually writing much of the history in particular and the math. They're using Sharia economics. They're teaching your children that in school. And if you can prove me wrong, anybody listening to this, I would invite you to go do your own research, because I guarantee you won't prove me wrong. That's what fired me up. That's why I stood up to run for governor of the state of Texas. That's why I'm vocal. When I found out the truth about Islam, man, I haven't shut up about it, and I'm not going to. They'll probably show up at my front door like they did E.T. Williams. What was that, Bobby, last night?
Last night, the Secret Service was at Elmer Williams' house, E.T. Williams' house. They were blocking his driveway. When he got home, they had their car in front of his driveway, and they wanted to come into the house. He let them come into the house, and then they wanted to start searching, and they didn't have a warrant, and he turned them down.
I'm surprised he got them out. He never let them in. You never invite them in. Never let them in.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
well, they're
agree
not
with
going to
that.
come in invited them. Yeah, they won't be in my home invited, but I expect they'll show up. I'm very vocal. Everybody that knows me knows I'm vocal, but I'm about telling the truth. And listen, I'm a watchman, and I'm a watchman and a warrior for God, and I'm watching out for my children. And I'll tell you something else. Everybody else that listens to me on a regular basis already knows this, but for any new listeners that might be on here, I have a multicultural family. My son-in-law is black. My new son-in-law to be, or my ex-son-in-law is black. My new son-in-law to be is half Hispanic and half black. 3 of my grandchildren are white. 2 of my grandchildren are mixed. My godson is black.
We know that the racial divide and the tension is by design. I mean, anybody that's still falling for that, it really needs to check it out, because it's by design. I mean, we're not born to hate because of a color or a race. You know, it's
and
by
that's where I
design.
would go.
This is planted. These are seeds planted at an early age, either by the system or by parents or uncles or aunts or whatever. I'm not going to call it a disease. It's part of the 10 pillars of the Communist Manifesto. If you go read it.
Well, it makes my life extremely difficult, and here's why I worry. I know whites are pissed I'm white. I'm a quarter American Indian, but by all means, I'm white. That's how society sees me. If your father is white, it doesn't matter if your mom's black, or that's how they make you check the box. See, they make us classify ourselves, and we're so conditioned to do that we just follow that stupid little sheepish trail right over there and check those boxes so that they can continue to classify us right down to your income level. And we need to stop doing that, America, because nobody is better than anybody else. Doesn't matter what color, what gender. It doesn't matter how much money you make or how much money you don't make. In God's eyes, we are all equally as important, equally as successful, and we all have something that we're supposed to contribute to society and humanity. And we have let them separate us by color. But my position is this. Some dumbass, pissed off, redneck, white individual who's had enough of this black oppression, because that's what it is. Let's call it what it is. It's actually been oppression on the white society by the government and the blacks giving all the privileges to the black while making Whitey feel guilty about something that Whitey didn't do, when in fact there were more white slaves. See, the biggest threat to society is the white Judeo-Christian, and has been for centuries, especially since the Spanish Inquisition. Okay? So we are seeing across the board a continual attack on a certain race or a certain culture of people, and it's continued to be shoved down everybody's throat so that everybody will believe the lies. Well, here's the deal. They're going to attack my black children because they think that they are the enemy. And the blacks are going to continue to attack my white children because they believe, in fact, that they are the enemy. When, in fact, my kids are not of that mentality. We don't see a separation or a division of color in my house. We don't have thugging in my house. Culturally speaking, that's wrong. It's destructive behavior, it's aggressive behavior, and it's disrespectful and demoralizing. We don't have that in my home. We don't have it, period. My kids don't sag their pants, black or white. My kids don't listen to that rap shit, black or white, period. We just don't allow it in my home. And hopefully, knowing my daughter like I know her, she has not allowed those children to do that while they're away from me. I don't allow it. My 16-year-old black godson, who I helped raise since he was 4, if I see him sagging his pants, I tell him, pull them up. If I see your friggin' shorts, I'll buy you bikinis or thongs for your wear, and I'll throw your boxers out. I shit you not. That's how drastic I am with it. One day he had one leg up on his gym pants at the house and one leg down. Well, I know what that means. I said, Todd, you pull that leg down. Absolutely. I said, you pull your damn pant leg down now. If I ever see you doing that shit in front of me again, or I walk up on you in public and see you doing that, I'm going to embarrass the shit out of you. I still spar with him. 6'3", I've taught him self-defense. He knows I'll go blow for blow with him, and he knows I won't take him bowing up at me. If he wants to fight me like an adult, I'll beat his ass. One of us is going to get beat, and I'm probably going to be the winner in that one because I know a little bit more. But I don't let him do that, and he got angry about it. But he knows, don't sag your pants, don't pull your pant leg up, and don't talk like a thug around me. And he shows respect, and I tell him, you do it in public just like you do it at home. Don't disrespect anybody, because I don't want to go to jail because I had to go after somebody that went after you because you were thugging.
Yeah, it's pretty damn sad, that our society is the way that it is. Then right now we're going through, the biggest trial and error, if you really ask me, because look, they're really pushing the race issue, and I think that's what is going to finally be one of the straws that breaks the camel's back. Unfortunately, it's going to be a race issue. And unfortunately, people are going to be so naive, they're not even realizing that they're falling into the trap and that it's actually going to be something that's going to, kick off a big riot somehow.
Well,
and I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong.
Bill.
The issue, Bobby, it's going to be a collapse of our dollar, to our economy.
Oh yeah,
that's going to spark race riots because it's the whitey's fault that our economy's gone bad.
Right.
and then there's the jihad thing. I mean, it's just like I said before, it's this multifaceted attack.
Right.
And I forget the general's name that said this, but we're surrounded. That's good. Now we can attack in any direction, and that's what I'm saying. If we don't go on the offensive. And being on the offensive on Facebook ain't enough, folks. I'm sorry, it ain't going to happen. You're not going to win this thing sitting on your keyboard. And I'm one of the worst ones about it. I can't say I'm not guilty of being a keyboard commando myself, but behind the scenes, I'm doing a lot of things that I can't really publicize, but. Something that's going to help a lot is to get in your community, get out and get people that are like-minded. You don't have to agree on many things, just that the government's gone rogue. On that principle alone, you can unite and form community preparedness teams. Somebody that's going to be there at your front door when you need them.
Can I read something to you guys? Can I read something to you guys real quick? Because I'm real big on definition and semantics.
Go ahead. When you're done, let's give out the phone number so people can call in after that. So go ahead and give out that phone number now. But I'm going to read you the verb concerning race. Go ahead, Bobby. Give out the phone number. All right, let's give out the number, and when Becky's done reading what she's going to read, we'll start taking calls. If you guys have any questions, comments, rebuttals, anything you want to, pretty much anything you want to cover. So 929-477-3565 is the number. Again, 929-477-3565.
All right. You said race. It's a race war. I'm going to tell you what it says in the Webster's Dictionary. As a verb, compete with another or others to see who is fastest at covering a set course or achieving an objective. Let that resonate, folks. Race, that's what they call us, race. They separate us by race. Whitey's oppressing Blackie. Blackie's got to rise up in the race. Whitey is behind in the race. Blackie is behind in the race. Mr. Juan Valdez is behind in the race. It's a constant competitive battle for survival. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Well, you guys, my whole, and I'm just going to sum it up, everything, what I've been ranting on is this. Our children are easily recruited into a terroristic frame of mind. And at the end of the day, that is also what we're going to be battling. Those homegrown terrorists, these little idiots that are running off to Syria and the Middle East to join the fight, to join the caliphate. They're grooming our children for it in school. They're separating the races. I'm seeing a coalition form. This terrorist that shot up the military facilities today, he is not a homegrown terrorist. He's from Kuwait. He's an imported terrorist, and they are importing terrorists in here every day. This is Obama's jihad.
Yeah, well, look at how many sleeper cells are throughout this whole damn country. I'm sure every state has them, and it's not just from ISIS. It's not just from China. It's not just from Russia. I mean, you know, you pretty much name it, they're here. So, I mean, it's a pretty scary situation all the way around. I mean, you know, it doesn't make a damn bit of sense why the hell they would just allow, you know, our country to be flooded the way that it is. Just, I mean, I get it. I know why they're doing it, you know, to go against us. But, I mean, you know, it seems to me somebody somewhere sometime had to have told the president or, you know, the council, the Security Council or something, hey, this isn't a good idea. This is a damn bad idea. You know, I'm sure he got shot in the foot or something, but, you know, it's sickening. It's sickening.
Shot in the foot. Shut up. Boom. No, Bobby. What they did is they went to him and said, hell yeah, your plan's working great. America's been taken over, and soon we can raise our flag over your White House. I know exactly what they're saying. I know exactly what he's doing. Every evidence points to it. He is part of them. He said he would stand with Islam, and he is standing with Islam.
Oh, yeah.
Not only is he standing with them, he is funding them. He's blocking the Kurds from fighting against ISIS.
Yep. He's blocking the Kurds from being able to fight. They're not able to get any weapons, any ammunition, or anything else. And he pretty much sealed the fate for Israel. Israel's pretty much going to be a done deal here pretty soon. And unfortunately, I mean, I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Netanyahu. I think that he's a pretty good speaker. And, you know, I mean, I don't know as much about him, you know, other than, you know, what we read and what we hear about. But, I mean, he seems like, you know, he's a stand-up guy and everything else. But, you know what, he's got an agenda just like the rest of them. You know, Putin, Netanyahu, Obama, they're all different. You know, I mean, they're all pretty much the same thing from different countries. That's pretty much it.
Anybody that's online right now that would like to discuss anything, give us more information, any breaking information that we haven't disclosed on this show today, please press the button 1 on your phone. I've got a lot of people online, but I don't have a lot of people with their hands up. If you could just hold your hand up by pressing 1, that gives me an indication on the board here in the studio that you have something that you want to say or you want to interject something on the conversation.
Real quick, I'd like to comment on Bobby's statement about Bibi, and I have no doubt that he's not part of the globalist community, part of the, you know, submitted to the UN's ideas. But I will say this about Bibi, and it's been very impressive that he shows when there's a bombing in his country, in his state, he shows up for the funerals. When the Jesus Charlie incident happened, he showed up. He stood hand in hand with the French, you know, with the other leaders from around the world. And I know that was a big photo op. I get that. But I just want to say that about Bibi. At least he shows some human compassion, you know. But there again, I have no doubt that he's not part of the globalist community.
Yeah. Well, you know, either by force or by course, I think that most of the governments around the world are a part of it. I found some very interesting news today that was shared with me about a bank that has been formed in Texas, a bill that was signed off on in June by Greg Abbott, for us to start establishing our own trade of precious metals or currency that is not governed by the Federal Reserve. So that was some encouraging news. And Bill, if I didn't get that to you, I'll make sure that I text you that so that you can take a look at it.
I watched video here. Bill DiGirolamo shared a video about a gentleman, and I think he's in Michigan. He started a script. I think it's called An Hour, which is a really great idea. It's not counterfeit because everybody that's participating in it is well aware of what it is, what it's worth. And and the beauty part is that community, and I think also they've started it in Clearwater, Florida. The community knows what the worth is, and they set that value themselves. You don't have the Federal Reserve setting that value for you, or the New York Stock Exchange, which is all controlled by the Federal Reserve and the private gangsters. So that's a really good thing. And if Abbott can get something started in Texas, that would be, outstanding.
Well, it has been, and it's been passed through the House on the floor and been signed off by
Texas as a republic can follow the Texas Constitution and the United States Constitution, United States of America, the Constitution for the United States of America, and create and coin their own script. That's perfectly lawful.
Oh, interesting. I just saw isn't that interesting? Local police department SUV just went in front of my house.
Coming to get you, Becky.
Hell, they don't scare me.
They just left Elmer's house. They're on their way to yours. They had the wrong Williams.
He does carry my daddy's name. Now there's a black van that I don't recognize. Oh no, that might be my neighbor. It's blue. Hang on. We shall see. They're stopping. They're going. Hey, you folks might get to witness something while I'm on the air. Don't know what's up. But anyway, I've got my camera system in here. It's really cool. I've got cameras all around my house. They can't sneak up on me from the left or right, the front or the back. And I can see the street. I can see my sidewalk and my front door. They're infrared, so at night I can see everything like it's daylight. And I've got this little 20-inch monitor that's right next to my flat screen TV here in the office and bedroom. And I can watch everything.
Well, everything I get, I don't think they're worried about sneaking up on anybody. They're pretty arrogant about everything they do.
Yeah. I'm kind of
make a big star in the neighborhood to make you the bad guy.
Well, yeah, and people around here know that I'm well capable and able and armed, and I've got my shit going on in here. You'll be guilty by popular opinion before they get you out the front door or the back door. Knowing you, they'll probably have to carry you out the way. Hang on while I light my
down the street. Some old man. The old man down the street's a big fan of hers.
Yeah. He told me he's got a 380 for me. He carries a 380. He said he could take care of me. I told him I got 40 and 2 clips, full metal jackets. I said, let's see who's left standing. Whatever. Bitch, you don't intimidate me like that. This crazy man was coming over here destroying property and walking up and taking trash off the street and putting it at my front doorstep. And whenever I confronted him on it, he said, yeah, I did it. What the fuck are you going to do about it? He did about $1,500 worth of damage to Natalie's car parked out in front of my house.
Boy, what about these kids stealing the Confederate battle flags out of people's yards and off the front of their houses?
I'll shoot them.
I'm telling you.
Shoot them. You people better hear me. If y'all got kids doing that kind of shit, I don't love them like you do at all.
Right.
They come up on my property, I'll shoot them.
Well, I'm proud to say that the Castle Doctrine is alive and well in Kentucky. I mean, I'm allowed to protect my properties. It's not be a good idea to come back here stealing stuff.
Yeah. I don't do well with that. I had a couple items stolen. I bought those little electric scooters when they first came out for my grandkids. I bought 2 of them. Broad daylight. Man came up 3:30 in the afternoon. We had gone to a doctor's appointment. Man comes up on pulls up in front of my house and loads them up in the trunk of his car. And my neighbor across the street said, well, Becky, he was black. We've got one black person that lives in all these houses here. And it's not because we're racist, because mostly people retire here. And it's a nice little quiet neighborhood, but we've got a gentleman and his wife, a younger couple, that have bought a house here in the back. So we do actually have one colored folk here outside of the ones that come to my house. And anyway, my neighbor said, yeah, I didn't know. I thought maybe he knew your son-in-law or something. I said, well, that's kind of racist. What do you think? We know all the black people because my son-in-law's black. You know what I mean? I was like, why the hell didn't you call the cops? She said, well, I didn't know. I didn't know. I said, well, let me tell you something. Nobody should come up to my property and pick up anything if I'm not home. And you knew I wasn't home. I was really kind of pissed off at her. I said, well, could you identify him or the make of the car or anything? She goes, well, it was just an older blue car. I don't know what kind of car it was, and it was a black guy. I said, well, can you tell me something about this black guy? She goes, he's black. I was like, damn. Wow. But anyway, yeah, that's the only thing I've had stolen from my property. But this guy came up, and he's a veteran, unfortunately, because all I hire is vets. We give back to the veteran community. But he is a veteran of Vietnam, and he's on a mental disability, and he's cuckoo. But he's a concealed carry permit person, and he walks around with his little 380. I'll see you 380, and I'll raise it a 40 and a month.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially Full Metal Jacket just doesn't do a whole lot of damage unless you hit the right spot.
Yeah. I got some I got 2 clips in my 40, and I keep it by my bed. And I keep my Mossberg in my room by the closet.
Couple rounds before you bleed out.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work and I run out of ammo, I keep a couple of bottles of top cocktails. You know, that even burns through Kevlar. And I got my tire checker, my beater stick, and then I've got my martial arts skills. So I figure if they can take me out with all of that, hell, I deserve to die. My time's up. Right?
Right, that's right.
Well, people, I need you to keep your eyes and your ears open. We don't know if Jade Helm is a martial law situation. We don't really know. What we do know is that this government likes to use everything for multiple reasons. They never let a crisis go to waste.
I was just going to say that.
We know that they're not beneath attacking and killing their own people. We saw a slaughter out here in Waco. That they won't release the ballistics reports to us. We know for a fact that they slaughtered, and that was premeditated murders, bikers out here in Waco. And then they incarcerated 172, and now they're going to railroad them because one of the police detectives there is going to be the jury foreman.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. You talk about a conflict of interest. What the hell is that?
I understand why the attorneys allow this to go on. What I don't understand is how they can look at themselves in the mirror every morning. Knowing what I know about the bar and their oath to the courts, their first obligations to the courts. So whatever the court says goes. This amoral, I call it amoral. It is, in fact, amorality law. It's amoral. These guys are getting railroaded. That deal in Waco was a setup. Those guys were ambushed. I've talked to some people that were on scene. Awful situation.
Well, you look back at the break.
If the biker community doesn't rise up out of this somehow.
Well, there's reports of heavy recruiting into the biker organizations right now, but
I've heard
course that's
things,
coming from
unconfirmed things. Yeah. I'm not in Texas, so I don't know.
Well, that is the word. Now, whether there's any validity to that or not, I do not know. I mean, they painted them as gangsters and thugs, and that's not the case. We do have, just like in any organization, just like even in churches, have a handful of corrupt individuals that rock the entire boat of morality in people's minds for a certain culture or community. And we see that, and of course, they're going to placate that on through social media. They're going to do everything they can to plant that little seed in the mind of society about what ogres and demons bikers are. My personal experience, I ride. I don't fly anybody's patch. I don't have honor to any club in particular, but I do have a very close coalition with many of the VFW chapters around here. We do participate in the Toys for Tots and feeding the homeless. We do what we can to give back to the community. And these are average people like myself who are walking the streets. Some of them are doctors, lawyers, plumbers, electricians, carpenters. A large majority are veterans in some of these organizations. So to say that they're all bad people is what the mainstream media wants to be in the minds of America, so they can turn their backs on true patriots who stand up for.
The narrative as soon as it came out was as dirty, rotten, nasty bikers deserved it,
Well, that's also to take the heat.
And I like this thing today, where it's all of a sudden it's a homegrown terrorist when now we're seeing the evidence that it absolutely is not. So.
No, it was an imported terrorist, and there are many of them here. Folks.
But
there are many of them.
One of the problems is people get home at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and they turn on mainstream media, and that's what they see first, and that's the image that sticks.
Well, Bobby has dropped off. He may or may not be able to come back on. So, Bill, you and I are flying solo. If anybody else has any input, we'd certainly like to hear from you. Please raise your hand and give us any information of activity going on. Bill, I suggest that we find an intelligent way. You're one of my mentors and somebody that I look up to. You think logically. You're not an irrational thinker. You're not a hothead and wants to go out and shoot up America. And I value your wisdom and everything that you bring to the table. But we as collectively, as the leaders in this community, this fight for the patriots in America, we need to find an open 24-hour way of communication so that people have a viable means 24 hours a day to report activity of certain things that may be of concern to the population, whether it be activity in Jade Helm, activity in gangster movement, activity in drug cartel, trafficking. Doesn't matter what it is. We need to be ever vigilant, in my opinion, and we all need to be very aware. Listen, anybody out there listening to this program that has not educated yourself on situational awareness, it would be in your best interest to do that. Look it up on the internet and learn how to use the tactics that they use in the military and in law enforcement for situational awareness. It's going to open your eyes to a lot of things that will help you better discern what you should be or should not be alarmed by, and it can also save your life. So situational awareness and an open line of communication, giving a heads up on these things that are going on across America would definitely be to your advantage and to your family's advantage. Would you agree, Bill?
No, absolutely, and especially in your own communities, within you can set your own radius. I always suggest a 100-mile radius. Give yourself some warning, and that's what Bill and I and several of us have been pushing this community preparedness thing.
Tell the folks a little bit about that, because I feel like we're at a very crucial stage in this battle. We are at war. Anybody that thinks we're not at war, all you fools out there, I'm waiting for the first shot and all that bullshit. You need to stop thinking like that. Cause
you have to be tailored to each individual community and what your community will afford or can stand. But it's basically just getting out and talking to people and getting an idea of who else is like-minded and exchanging phone numbers or get on an email list or, any way you can communicate. Some of the farmers around here still use those old CBs, and the analog communication will communicate in heavy storms, It'll communicate through trees. You can't really communicate much with cell towers and stuff because you just use too many. You get 15 miles away from a cell tower, and now you don't have any signal. So, I mean, just any way you can. And like I said, it's tailored to each community. It's what you can afford, what your community can stand. But get out and talk to folks and surround yourself with like-minded people. And there again, you don't have to agree on religion. You don't have to agree on color. You don't have to agree on much of anything except we've got a rogue government or an oligarchy.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to admit that it's an oligarchy, that it's not really a federal government. So, okay, if you want to call it a federal government, call it that. That's why we say it's tailored. It has to be custom tailored to each community. And when you hear news like what's going on today, I'm sure the folks around the patriots around Chattanooga are well aware of their situation. Our friend Thomas Mick, website's called CommonSenseToMe.com, Restoring American Republic. He goes into a little bit more detail. I'm not saying you have to do it that way, but that's a good model, I think. It's about all I can say about it. You just have to get out and surround yourself with like-minded people and exchange phone numbers, or just find some way to get in touch with each other. Form a pact, in other words.
Yeah, because you do need a first, second, and
some people call it the wolf pack. Some people call it the wolf pack, and that's cool. I mean, whatever you want to call it. Go ahead, Becky. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Doug McDougall texted me, and I didn't see the text. He said he'd been on hold. I'm going to bring Doug McDougall in on the call if you can hold on a minute. Go ahead, Bill. Hang on just a second, people. If you'll give me a minute.
Is Doug there? Well, anyway, I guess while we're waiting on Becky, I mean, folks, you just have to get out and talk to each other. Discuss what's going on. Talk about the things you like, don't like, just anything you can do. Did you drop off, Becky? Sounds like we lost
Bill. Bill, I'm back, and I've got Brother Doug McDougall on the line. He's been on hold, but I have so many people on hold. I missed his phone number. I didn't see his hand up. Welcome to the show, Doug McDougall. I missed you, brother.
How's it going, folks?
Well, we were covering a plethora of things here, but in particular, the reason I called this show is we've got a couple of situations pretty volatile right now going on. I don't know if you've seen the news. I'm sure you've gotten word of it, but we have a Kuwaiti ISIS-tied terrorist that has gone in and killed some Marines in Tennessee, and we've got Bobby reported earlier that we had a bomb threat for the department, the Center for Disease Control, in Georgia. So, what's up, brother? What's your take on this, and do you have any further information that you might be able to give us on it?
Well, for starters, let me give you the scoop on what I think is nothing right now. It's the infectious medicine. You got to understand, my daughter is she's a MD, and
right.
That's her specialty is infectious medicine.
Right.
So right off the bat, I made a phone call to get the buzz. What's going on, and she knows people in those locations, and she's not getting anything. So,
okay.
So that's where that stands right now. On the one thing that's got me totally freaking irate is you got to understand. In '83, I was sitting offshore when 270 of my buddies got killed in Beirut.
Yeah.
I was on the USS Guadalcanal. But, and even then, and understand, this is Reagan era, they didn't want to look tough. I'll put it that way. in these other countries. So the guards standing at the gate to the barracks area, you have to understand, in these areas where our embassies and our barracks and things like that are in other countries, all it is a fence surrounding what looks like a normal building. This is not a base where it's way off the road or anything. You could literally throw a Molotov cocktail and hit the building. They were required to they had these little boxes that go over the end of your at that time, our M16s, and a little wing nut that holds it on there, and it's painted a real bright yellow so you can show your enemy that you cannot even fire your weapon. Ammo was allowed to be at the site, but it was in a lockbox in the cart spaces. And, okay. Y'all there?
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. And, I'm telling y'all, it's this liberal mindset about what looks bad. What's perception is over what is reality. This is mind blowing. This is insanity at its highest order. When I have got right now that there was a sign right outside the front, and this is coming from a police officer in Chattanooga, that there's a sign right out front that says no guns allowed. And it's not a 30-06 sign. It's a blatant sign that says no guns allowed.
Wow. And
understand, even if they had guns, this man didn't confront them. He's too much of a wimp.
Yeah.
He sat out in his car and with a long rifle and shot lots of shots into the building. So he never even parked. He stopped in the middle of the road and shot through the front glass. Multiple rounds. Folks, we have got to come together. We have got to stop this insanity that is the liberal mindset. This liberal insanity that is infecting all of America. Our morals, our security. We have the Kansas City mayor touting and his accolade that his schools now speak 62 different languages, and that the white race is no longer the dominant race in Kansas City. And he's touting this as an accomplishment. I'm not set out on some white skinhead, hierarchy or anything like that. But this insanity that is the liberal world is what is wrong with all of this. They believe in this fruit veil, this thing that if you just don't look like a bad guy, like don't wear your uniforms out in public. Okay?
Don't look crazy. They leave you alone. Yeah.
Clinton signed this. That was his first act in office in '93. Clinton signed the act that had all military were no longer allowed to carry weapons. If you were military and you were off base, you weren't even allowed to have a concealed carry permit. They restricted all military from doing this, and also no military. This is when it became law that no military personnel could carry weapons on a military establishment.
When was this?
In '93.
Okay.
But believe me, that ideology was working back in '83 when I was there. And it wasn't law. It was just like, well, let's just put a couple of guards up there. But we want to show people they're not, even though they have their guns with them, that they can't really use those guns. And that's what happened. When they drove the truck through the gate and drove it another 80 yards to the front of the building and blew it up, nobody could do anything. You wouldn't even have had time to run to the ammo box, unlock it, and load your weapon and take off your blockade on the end of your weapon. Folks, I think I've referred to this before. There's an old stupid B movie out there called Idiocracy. It's about this guy getting in a time capsule, and he's like, they picked the dumbest guy in the military to do it. Well, it turns up in the future, and he ends up being the smartest guy on the planet because we these idiots have just bred and had so many other idiots, or we have allowed this third world country, this 9th century ideology to spread, and it's affecting everybody. We have everybody that is. I read a chart the other day of all of these laws that are broken, and it started out as an NBA. Pick if this is the NBA or the NFL, and it started going off and as 140 felons and 127 BWIs and 100 and so on, and this law and spousal abuse. 40 of them for spousal or domestic violence. And 40 of them that can't own a weapon, for whatever reason. And it gets down to this, after going through this big, long list, and it says this is neither the NBA or the NFL. This is our House of Representatives. We are such idiots, the American people, that we can elect a guy named Jesse Ventura. Now, all for Jesse Ventura, but he got elected because he's just a popular guy, and we're getting more and more into that mindset. And whoever wins the popularity contest, I ain't got nothing against Donald Trump. I think he's a little extreme and lacks a little bit of that, whatever, but I think everything he says is correct. But right now, Donald Trump is really, really cool. It's the Jerry Jones mindset. All news is good news, whether it's bad or good or whatever. And this thing going on right here in Chattanooga, this is nothing. I guarantee you Obama is giggling inside. He is so happy. The only downfall, and I heard y'all mention it earlier, is if these recruiting officers, which I used to be a recruiter here in Garland when I was in the Marine Corps, if these recruiters turn out to be all for black gentlemen, black Marines, it's going to throw a monkey wrench into the whole thing. They're not going to know how to address it. They're going to drop it. Something else is going to have to pop up. Some news is going to have to be released. Something is going to have to happen to cover this up and make it go away.
Doug, I got a question. Doug, I got a question. It's been a while, but isn't a recruiting office considered a post?
Yes, it is.
A military post? Well, then how in the hell can you be expected to defend your post unarmed?
Listen, you can't defend your post at Fort Hood.
Absolutely, that's the point I'm making. This is absurd. And I know you said that Clinton started this back in what you said early in 90s. This is absurd. I can't wrap my head around it. I can't imagine walking up to a Marine and telling him you can't be armed. Marines fight back. That's what they do.
Well, these Marines, there would have been one killed if the guy would have came into the building. Because I know my brothers. One of them would have jumped in front of that gun and went down with that man and that gun.
Absolutely correct.
And the other three would have attacked. So one man would have went down. But
right.
Because he is a chicken shit Muslim sitting out, 80 feet away from the front door blasting through the glass, there's nobody has time to react.
And I can tell you something. There's not a whole lot of difference in a full auto or a semi-auto, unless you're talking about a minigun or a mini. My mind just went blank. I mean, you can pull off rounds pretty quick out of a semi-auto.
Hey, even in the military, we're trained to not. People think about an automatic, and then they think about some kind of Chicago mafia movie with some Tommy guns.
Right.
You have very, very little control unless you're shooting a 60 or something with a tripod. You have very little contrle if you have something on full automatic. We are taught to shoot.
Well, that's why you use a 3-round burst instead of just emptying a 20 or 30 round magazine.
So if you're talking about the difference between my M4, my AR, opposed to a military full automatic, you're talking about 2 extra rounds every second, and so I mean you can do the same. Yeah, you can do the same damage with with my gun that you can do with a fully automatic. It's not going to make any difference. Matter of fact, I think a guy that's on a, that doesn't have the fully automatic is probably going to have a more consistent shot pattern than a guy that has a full automatic. He's going to lose control of his aim. But beside the point, golly, I'm freaking pissed off. Wake the hell up, America. Wake up. You know what?
You guys
think?
Well, I know there's a big difference in the round, too. The 223 is a lot easier to control than, let's say, a 308 or even a 762. Right.
But the thing is, if people don't wake up, it's going to be, they just passed this new law, this AFFR, whatever it is, this community neighborhood reformation, where they're going to take wealthy neighborhoods and they're going to move these poverty-stricken, city dwellers into these rural, these suburbs is where they're going to move them. Well, guess what, folks? I was really happy to hear about this, okay? In a pissed-off kind of way. I was really happy about it because I was like, finally, now those people that go home and shut their door and go jump in their swimming pool in their backyard and pay no attention to what's happening to their country, it's finally going to end up at their doorstep. And when Javier and his 8 kids moves that just got here and got his DREAM Act or whatever pushed through and moved into your neighborhood and government aid and the whole thing, and your property of your $380,000 or $500,000 house drops to a $280,000 home, you're going to be affected. And I'm so pissed off that I watch people right now. I just drove home. On my way home, I'm watching people out on jet skis on the lake. I'm watching people laughing and throwing horseshoes around here. People are giddy and happy. They don't even know that 4 protectors of them have been slaughtered today. And even if they find out, they'll go, oh, man, that's horrible.
Yeah,
and then they'll go on with their life. They do not let it affect them. They live in their own little bubble. They make their own little money.
Hey, Doug, let me put something in before we get too far away from the weapons discussion. I want to... Did Tennessee finally get rid of the mandatory permit to open carry? Did that legislation go through?
Tennessee did, yes.
Okay. Here's something I want to throw out to the listeners. I carry 24/7. You won't catch me, except for maybe when I'm taking a shower, without my weapon, and even then it's close. And this is across the board. And I say this to law enforcement and military. I'm there to watch you, too. I will defend you. In Kentucky, I mentioned earlier, the Castle Doctrine is alive and well. That provides me the opportunity to be a third-person defender. In other words, if I see an attack going on, I can take the subject out and be within my legal means. Now, will I have a trial? Absolutely. Will I go to jail? Absolutely. Will I get my weapon confiscated? Yes, I will. But I'm confident that the public or the jury will find me justified for protecting a law enforcement officer or a Marine. I want to set this out for the folks to think about. If your state allows open carry, or even if you have to get a permit to carry, watch out for your brothers. Watch out for our sisters. Go ahead, Doug. I just want to throw that out there.
No, I agree. But, I've gathered some people in my community together, and I said, listen, when things go bad, and at this rate I think it's going to be sooner than later, but when things go real bad, there's only so many people can stand behind me. I'm here to protect you. There's only so many can stand behind me.
Right.
This is going to take a movement. If we sit here and we get irate, and we preach to each other, I'm with you. The militias, I have spoke with probably 4 of them here in North Texas. They're kind of wishy-washy on this, and they're apologetic on this. And You know, they make more of an issue. Oh, we take all race. We're not, and hey, Christianity's not a part of it. If you can be non-religion, whatever. I'm like, really? Everything is so politically correct now that nobody wants to offend anybody, and mostly it's because about the dollar. If a guy could sell his house and make $50,000 more for selling his house to a Muslim, he's damn sure going to sell his house to a Muslim.
Right.
Because you know, he blows the whole thing out of the way, and it doesn't matter if it's a business, if it's whatever the case is. I'm open on all ends of race, of you want to do your homosexual thing, you go on and do your thing, okay? Where I draw the line is when it comes to the sodomites. And the sodomites are straight out of the pits of hell, and those are the Muslims. They are the slobber from the devil's mouth.
Yes,
And
they are.
I will not bow on this. I've been on a couple of local radio shows here, and I was at both Garland events. Heck, I was at all three Garland events. And I spoke on local radio shows here about it, and he's like, well, Doug, you sound like you're saying do everything to stop them. I said, exactly.
Yep.
Do everything. Do everything possible to prevent this spread from continuing. But like Mickey said earlier about the airplane being loaded with Muslims, it is every day. I took somebody to the airport last week.
It absolutely
and
is.
Everybody there in the airport that was coming off of planes every plane had at least one or two burqas on it. It was insane.
And have you noticed the ones getting on, Doug? They get a pass through TSA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they can't be touched. This is insanity. This is like putting a guy in front of a guard station with no ammo and a big red flag up his ass saying, I can't shoot my gun. It's disabled. Okay? And then we've only had Muslims blowing up our damn planes, and now you want to pass a thing through TSA that says you cannot search a Muslim. This is insanity, folks.
I watched it with my own eyes at an intercontinental airport, and it just blew me away. It just blew me away. I was there to pick somebody up off a flight, and I watched them pass through TSA hands off. They just walked through like they own the freaking place. My blood boiled.
Well, TSA is not
a 90-year-old grandma over here looking up her ass. What the hell? Excuse me for my language, but
you could take a marker on a white T-shirt and wrote "bomb" on it, and put some wires hanging out of your pockets and get through the freaking airport TSA security. I mean, they are ridiculous. They don't do anything. The only reason we haven't had a plane blow up is because they don't want to blow up a plane right now.
Right.
Anything they want to do, they are able to do.
Speaking of blowing up planes, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I'll lose this thought. You know, it hadn't been very long ago, pardon me, it was just last week, that the government, the mainstream media, or the oligarchy in the mainstream media, let's call it what it is. No, let's just call it the enemies in the mainstream media. They played down the outage that shut down the stock exchange and air traffic. And they tried to lead us to believe it was only American Airlines and that it was a computer glitch, that wasn't a terrorist hack or anything like that on the communications or the computer grids in America. But they're full of shit, because I called immediately. Tracy was out of the country. I called her on Viber. I got her in Kosovo. And I said, listen, I need to tell you, American Airlines halted all flights, but they're saying it was a computer glitch with their aircraft. And she said, what? And I said, yeah. And she goes, no, that was our airline. So it was airlines across the board. And the media and the government won't even tell the truth and say that it was, in fact, an attack? How do you shut down the aircraft? That was economic terrorism. Billions of dollars were lost on the stock exchange and on travel right then and there. That was an economic hit. Now you have to ask yourself, what the hell, people? Planes could have fallen out of the friggin' sky and run into each other, because when that communication is dropped, you've got thousands of airplanes that you can't see flying above you at a height that's not visible to the eye, nor will you hear the engines, and they are all over the place. If you've ever, I took air traffic control. I went to school for that. I didn't take the job, but I went to school for it. I didn't want the responsibility. I decided in the stress, so I didn't go into that field. But I have looked at a radar screen, and I've seen how many aircraft are flying above you that you cannot see, and it is literally thousands. It's an abyss of maze of aircraft, large aircraft that we can't see flying at 35,000 feet, cruising somewhere between 25 and 35,000 feet. They're everywhere. Now, when that communication system went down, had they not been able to have a backup or some way to communicate to the airlines, we need you to ground the planes, that could have been worse than a nuclear disaster, in my opinion.
Hey, folks, let me tell you what's going on. It's kind of a little bit off base, but we're talking about airplanes. I have two pilot friends that are current flying. One, their own private plane, and one, a commercial pilot. What's being pushed out there right now is this training for shadowing. And what they're doing is they're picking up flights that are normal flight patterns, and they're moving. Let me put it this way. They're training some pilots to go into a shadowing deal, whether it be helicopter or smaller planes. What they do is they get directly below a commercial flight, and they're able to transport from one location to the other without ever being seen. I mean, they can be spotted, but they can't be spotted by, what is it? I just spoke with him last night on it. This has to do with the whole Jade Helm thing.
Time out. They're now announcing that this was a lone wolf attack.
Yeah, I heard that earlier.
Well, how in the hell did ISIS report it right before it happened then?
It's unbelievable.
Right.
Jesus
and look at the breed of the wolf. Look at the breed of the wolf in every one of them.
Right.
Hello, Bill. Hey, how you doing there, Bill, Becky, Doug?
Yeah.
Bill D. Drama. I wanted to add something. I started talking, but I didn't know that I was muted. When you were talking about the TSA and the free pass that some of these costume Islamic-appearing people, Muslims, are passing through. I'm going to swear this right now. I swear this on my honor and my name, that if I am in an airport going through this ridiculous process that the TSA has on the most passable people, some old woman who can hardly move, and then they get free passage, I promise and I swear that I will speak up immediately and demand that if I see that person be stopped and, for my comfort, be put through the process of search. I will demand that. Now, they can get pissed at me and keep me off a plane if they want to, but I will be insistent. And I think that if all of us are vigilant enough to be insistent in every case of that, we can make a statement, not just to the people that are supposed to be working for us, but for the people who are taking a free ride passing through us.
No, I agree, and I will do the same, but the problem is most people aren't willing to, if somebody sees, a man beating a woman, most people will go and keep on driving.
Not me.
Well, see, that's what people like us are for, though. We give them the example of what it looks like and how quick and easy it comes to do the right thing. And eventually, at some point, more and more people will do that.
hey, if there's 100 people standing around watching, and I step up to get in the middle of something, there might be one other person who will step up. There might be 3 other people who will step up. But in the future, maybe those 1 or 3 will be the first person to step up, and then pretty soon you have 20 out of 100 doing it. It has to start with us, perhaps. But what you're saying, Doug, is so true. But I never wait for somebody else to do what I think is right. If I did that, I would be as long as I can imagine.
Hey, Fletcher just made a very important observation that I think nobody has really put it in this manner. What we have in the White House right now is it's a Muslim Brotherhood coup d'etat.
Absolutely.
Well, we know that.
Established in America. Yeah, Caliphate has been established in America. Period.
Obama's
why don't you go down and buy some gas or some cigarettes at Muhammad's store, you dumbasses?
Well, I answered a post to Stand Up America the other day, and I basically hold the administration and everybody in our government involved with cooperating and supporting this administration equally responsible and accountable and guilty of what we're seeing happening in Iraq with these Christian towns, 200,000 people fleeing for their life, people who are leaving where they've lived for 2,000 years. I blame this administration directly as being part of the caliphate, and that my patience and tolerance for putting up with their nonsense here in America is now over. I could not participate with an international organization or people here on our soil who can have something like that happening in the world and have them tell me how I'm supposed to live here when their only job is to serve me. These people have to be held guilty for these things, or at least have the responsibility to end those things so that they're not held guilty for them. We left, right or wrong, for why we went to Iraq the first time with Desert Storm. We went there. We eliminated the military of that country. Now, I don't think we're responsible for rebuilding their military or training their people, but I do think that because we left such an important area without a military, that we are at least responsible of going and stopping what ISIS is or any of those other things rather than creating them. So there's no cover story they can give that merits or that justifies them not stopping that from happening.
Well,
and once
we would be doing that if it wasn't for the chief cook and bottle washer up here being their ace in the hole. Really, a Muslim Brotherhood sat in our White House.
Well, folks, listen. There's a lot of people that still believe, or the crazy liberals that still believe, that the reason the Muslims are pissed off is because we were the first Bush, and attacking over in Kuwait with all. Let me tell you, folks, whether we had ever fired a single shot on that piece of wannabe glass over there, I'm telling you right now, they would still have this mindset. They don't. They're correct.
Of course.
To go back into the 70s and look at the
I'm just talking. Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
You have to go back into the 70s and look at the Carter administration, how they funded the Taliban against Russia, and then turned their back on them when they were.
Well, what I was referring to, Doug, on that, I wasn't saying that that mindset didn't exist. What I'm saying is they wouldn't be able to play this theater that they are with these rogue troops killing entire, not just Christian populations, but entire populations, and overthrowing non-World Bank countries, not having cover stories that allow Hillary and Obama to gun running, massive weapons sales to rogue enemy people. We wouldn't have this scale of what's happening the way it's happening now. And we shouldn't allow it to happen no matter what. And that the fact that it is happening shows that this president, his administration, and brotherhood that runs through everything is absolutely a part of it and responsible for it, in my mind.
They are. And the thing is that we don't, I keep saying it, we have to, the first thing that needs to happen is that every military personnel should be allowed to carry 24/7, and the only thing you should have to have is a damn military ID. And you should be allowed to carry. We have to stop this from occurring. You can imagine every veteran that is out there, every military person, if they were there, they're all over this country. They would be the protection of the people of this country. And the reason this will never happen is that they fear that. They fear, that's what the Obama administration, that's what the Clintons, hell, that's what the Bushes, all of them. They fear this situation. They fear us being harmed.
Well, they're taking us over right now, and they fear us being able to stop it. You know, they have
They're not taking us over. They have taken us over. They're not taking us over. Listen, I saw, and I sent it out to a bunch of you guys. I don't know if you've been able to look at it yet. I saw the new Constitution for the new world government, and I sent it out to everybody.
Right.
It is. I've checked it out. It's valid. It's not a theory. It's not conspiracy. It is the actual document that somebody has gotten their hands on, and I sent it out to you, and they will remove it once they know we've got our hands on it. So you guys need to definitely get your hands on it.
Well,
I don't know that I've seen it yet. I've been out.
The UN Constitution.
Yeah.
It's online. It's been out for a while.
Yeah. It's pretty disturbing.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I don't recognize them. And I was offended when Holder tried to make that fucking statement, excuse my language, that international law supersedes or trumps the Constitution, even in America. And it was like, buddy, that's a bridge too far, and it's not going to happen here. That's an act of war if they even try to suggest.
Well, they have it already written. It's already in place.
Well, that's my point.
The Muslims.
Is that
what was that?
Well, actually, they had it. I guess they had a draft of it written up back in the League of Nations. That was the precursor to United Nations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It existed. That's where my dad brought me in when I was, I guess 12, 13 years old. The League of Nations things. He was just so pissed off.
Well, when you've got a president who disarms his military at an address or inauguration or wherever he is, you notice he took the Marines' guns.
Oh, yeah, he took the bolts out. It took the bolts out
Or
of
the bullets, yeah.
The bolts.
Well,
they marched with rifles and had no bolts.
Yeah, no bolts, no bullets. And
so they couldn't have even armed those weapons. They couldn't have even armed those weapons if ammunition were brought to them.
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, didn't he do that when we were exiting some of our embassies as well? This is overseas in a dangerous environment, and then they have our soldiers disarm and be escorted by foreign people. That could never happen.
You listen to the special forces, the contractors talk about what happened in Benghazi. That their nuts were cut off.
What was that?
The contractors that were to defend Benghazi. My mind goes blank.
The mercs, the mercenaries.
The mercenaries. Correct.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, before it even formed into what it became, they abandoned the whole area around. But
they've been all over the news. They've been all over the place talking about how they were basically unicized or unixized. You know.
Well, see, that's a violation right there through the State Department that Hillary and obviously Obama are responsible for as well. That we have an embassy without armed military supporting it? No. We had private...
Weapons are locked in a building 500 yards away.
Yeah, and the thing is that it wasn't even the military of a friendly nation that was protecting them. These were just private people that they called security who just took off. They just took off when it happened. Or actually before it happened.
So we know all this is going on. We know we've been taken over. Listen, in France, after the last attack in France, 80 mosques were burned to the ground. We know the mosque is the meeting place. We know that jihad and caliphate and terrorism are being planned, that hatred is being preached in those facilities. And I've got to tell you guys this. We got a bunch of spineless cowards in this country because the 80 mosques that were burned in France.
Like Doug brought the point, there's too many of them out there on their jet skis having a good time. Yeah.
Listen, July 4th, the month of Ramadan, this is their month, their holy month. July 4th, we should have seen it light up the sky with burning ember from these mosques around the country. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel about it. I'm not sorry. That's the way I feel about it. I'm not going to apologize for that.
Well, and that's ridiculous because the people don't understand the 3 stages of jihad. Everybody wants to say, but my neighbor's a Muslim and he's a nice guy. Yeah, I've said it. I had a gentleman who owned a liquor store. He had it for 25 years. I did business with him, not every day, but maybe once or twice a month, I did business with him, and he was a great guy. He was a great guy. Until I understood the 3 stages of jihad, I didn't understand him. I mean, this man, if I was $1 or 2 short, he said, forget about it. Don't worry about it. Give me what you got. We're good. And he maybe a 40-ouncer in there for my brother-in-law because he knew my brother-in-law liked 40-ouncers.
Well, that's because he keep you coming back and giving him that money, see?
That's right.
He's got liquid money in his pocket. That business has been given to him. He is tax exempt. That bastard's buying up everything he can, and he's laughing at you while he takes your hard-earned money that you're taxed to death on.
He's giving me a hand job because there's not enough of them right now to form the caliphate to be effective. So he just might as well be a nice.
Yeah, exactly. Keep you off guard. Lie to your face, smile at you while they take your money. And
that's why I say everybody needs to go to this answeringmuslims.com and read some of David's work. This guy has really laid it out well. People really need to understand the 3 stages of jihad.
Man, I refuse to do business.
Of motorist hate.
I won't do it. I won't do business with a Muslim-owned company. I don't give a shit if you're smiling at me and giving me a free meal. I will not do business with their companies. I know who they are. I know what they are. I know why they're here, and I am not going to fund any of it. I'm not going to do it.
And I sure hope people understand it's not my desire to bash a religion or Muslims or somebody for their faith. I would really...
It's not a religion.
It's not my desire to do that. It's because I've taken the time to educate myself on this stuff, and I just see it for what it is. And I would really rather it be something else, but it's not. We have to face the facts. We have to face reality.
You still have people who will argue with me constantly in a thread about the Muslims and their religion.
5 years ago, I would have argued with you.
Well, here's the deal. Anybody with half a mind, if I give you yourself the absolute factual truth, the fact on what they have done over the centuries, the people they have slaughtered, the nations that they have dominated and continue to try to dominate, and understand the objective that's in the Quran and Sharia law, then you're an idiot if you still support that. You're an absolute idiot because Muhammad is
something else. We have a lot of people that rag on this the Jewish community. I don't know of one Jew that wants to kill me because I'm an infidel or I was raised in the Christian faith. You know, I don't know one Jew that wants to kill me because I'm not a Jew. You know, it's just so absurd that people look at people like, you know, they look at Soros and help me out with some names here. These guys that are running the show, these rich guys that are in this country, the Rockefellers, you know, these people aren't Jewish. They're sick, twisted thieves. They're animals. You know, go ahead.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah.
Don't hang up, brother. You're going to hear it because I've got you tied in. You're tied into my call to the board, so it's not going to boot you off. It's just giving the host the information that the live broadcast is now ended. We're in our 30-minute overage, which will be captured for the archive as a whole show. So Doug's back with us, guys. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Hey, guys. Well, check this out. And this is the way I see it, is that we all understand that the black community throughout America has been misled, abused, used by all parties in the hierarchy.
Yes.
And right now, what we have also in the Muslim world is we have a 9th century mentality that is misleading the populace, especially the women and the children. They have been taught this. They don't understand how to read. They don't know how to do this or that. So they are being misled for the purpose of these damn sick individuals and the men that are of the Islam faith. And I'm telling y'all that even though they don't know, I still would not and cannot trust. Somebody has been taught that I am the dial. It's the same thing. It's the same manipulation that had the Chinese regular army scared to death what the Americans were going to do. There were stories that the Chinese were told that the Americans were going to do. They were going to cut their hearts out and eat their hearts, and so that they were scared to death. And they fought under those premises. They brought out the best in their soldiers, and still they broke, but they threw fear. And it's the same thing that is being used in the Muslim world right now. And don't think that the politicians in America aren't looking at it and salivating, going, boy, this is a simple-minded population of people that we can do and use how we want to. The black community is waking up, and they're realizing that they got used. And they're going to lose that portion of the public. And they're trying to fill it back up with some very poor people out of Mexico and some very idiot people out of the Middle East that can't read or write. How can you learn English when you don't even know how to write in your own language or read in your own language?
Well, we have that we have that process to become an American anyway. That requires an education and to learn about the country. It requires some reading. It requires the writing for sure. It requires that you be able to answer those specific questions necessary to understand what an American is to become one. And if they can't do this, then they can't be this. That's just the way it is. People, they look at, illegal this, or bringing all these people in. It's worse than just these people ending up here. It's that these people are ending up here who are alien, entirely alien to the land here. There was a whole process that our ancestors had to go through to become citizens. They had to learn about America.
Well, there was a process you had to go through to graduate the 8th grade. You had to know a little bit about the Constitution.
Right.
Well, what's happening in the North Texas, Dallas area right now is we are being inundated with these people from Somalia.
Oh,
and
yeah.
If you want to talk about a mean mean populace of people. These people understand. They stood at their front door and watched people slaughtered all up and down the street because they belonged to a different tribe, and they knew they were okay because they belonged to the right tribe. These people they don't think nothing of life or death, and they're so arrogant and so angry. Right now, we have a Fort Worth police officer that is in a lot of trouble. Okay, this is just pretty much breaking out right now. There's a lawsuit been placed on the police department and the city of Fort Worth by this Somali African guy. And
is he actually responsible for the lawsuit, or is there an organization that are pumping these lawsuits out on their behalf?
No, this guy is, and you know it right off the bat. He recorded the whole police transaction, the stopping and everything. And
so they're being guided.
Right off, he was. What's that?
They're being guided then.
Yeah,
it's a play. It's a ploy. It's intentional, right?
Well, all you got to do is look at the Eric Garner and the money that was paid to that family. I'll give you there was something going on there that he shouldn't have been. I think there was some wrong by the police department there, but all you have to do is set that precedent. And once you set that precedent, all those 9 families from South Carolina that I don't believe even freaking I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. But they're going to get government checks and big government checks. They're going to get paid. And when you start doing this and you start setting these precedents that people are going to get paid for this and people are going to get paid for this, all of a sudden now you have this situation out there that is going to go out of control. You have these gay and lesbian now. They're going to walk into a devout, good old Baptist church, and they're going to try and get married, and it's going to fall through, and they're going to place a lawsuit. Or this is just rampant. When you give away $135,000 for not making a $60 cake.
See, that people can't allow that to happen. I don't recognize their authority to do that, and I hope every American stands up and just blows them off like some kid flying on acid. If these courts and these representatives want to come and try to impose something on us like that, you just got to look at them like they're out of their damn minds. And if they push it too far and they want to start doing fines and all, we just extract ourselves from their monetary system entirely. You're exempt from everything, and we can start pushing that script in every city in America hard.
I want to touch on something there, Bill, that Becky mentioned earlier. I don't know. I'm sure you've visited liberal sites and been in their chats or on these threads.
Yeah.
This is something that's going on in the progressive liberal community. They don't really care what the law says. They're just going to make a new rule, and this is kind of into what you're talking about. Somebody makes a rule, and then they all think it's a good idea, so they follow it, and all of a sudden they think it's gospel, it's the law, and they live by it, and they push it, and they just won't get off of it because it's some kind of rule that somebody thought up. And this is a problem going on in this country, and in the courts. The judges, they will take another judge's opinion. It has nothing to do with the law. It's an opinion, and they'll enforce that opinion in the courtroom.
Well, they're about to experience the consequence of such. All these people that want to play that game are about to experience the consequence of it.
I would hope so. I mean, it's really unbelievable.
Well, the main reason they're placing that lawsuit is that the first charge, where they got in trouble, that Fort Worth police officers, the guy left his phone in the vehicle, and he left it on record, and the cop didn't know it. What sounds strange to me is they moved his vehicle. Well, while he's in his vehicle moving it, he's on the phone speaking with his police chief, and they're trying to discuss, what charges? Well, we've got to find something. He said, well, what are you trying to arrest him under now? And he says, well, we're trying to arrest him for resisting detention or combating to detention. and they've used this.
Oh, wait, you said combatant to detention? Is that what you said?
Yes, combatant to detention, and they have used this. They repeatedly have said, no, you can't detain me. Well, that right there, they're trying to say is a law. It has been researched and researched. There is no law for combatant of detention.
Nope.
So it's what you're saying is that once somebody starts doing something, other people start to pick up on it. They're like, well, that happened over there. It's what I'm saying. The precedent is set for it.
Yeah. So well, see, the thing too that people have.
It's a law.
We have an option though too, and it gives you at least a stand. You can look that officer in the eye and be clear with him when you tell him, on the record, before you proceed, you must understand that to this point, I do not consent. Now, if he's going to play those games that you're talking about, Doug, at least he knows that you're aware of a reality that he's going to have to have his ass covered for, and it's not going to be worth it to him to play out unless he's just a really, really bad guy.
Even with the whole usurpation of the Fourth Amendment, if you recite that amendment clearly to him that you're not going to comply to any variation, at least you've made it known on the record that you know. And
well, yeah, that's the point.
It used to help. Now, whether it does anymore, since this judge up here in Gregg County tends to think that the facts don't matter, and neither does the Constitution. My education I've got over the last 6 months cost me $50 to get it. I think it was pretty worthwhile. She evidently doesn't care about facts or the Constitution. So, but if you don't assert those rights, you're not going to get them.
Well, you know where she stands, and one day maybe you can set her up so that everybody can view her acting that way from the bench.
Yeah, that's why I chose the seatbelt citation, because it's only $25 and it doesn't affect anything on your record. It's no court cost or anything. It's just a flat $25. And my strategy is if I can get into my next approach will be jury trial. Over unconstitutional law.
Right, yeah.
Or code, should I say. Statute, code, color of law. I picked the least expensive one and the least consequential to try to get there.
Yeah, I'm just going to be the traveler. I'm not subject to those codes, sorry. I'm not on
those benefits.
Yeah, I'm not on contract with you guys, so I'm not for hire, and I am traveling. What do you want to add to that, officer?
You know what, guys? We've covered a whole lot of really good information on this show today, but I'm sure that things are going to unfold, things that are going to outrage us even further. The fact that they're saying this guy was a lone wolf, the corruption in our court systems is ridiculous. We know we have a rogue government. We know the coup d'etat has already been established. We know we're being run and controlled by an outside entity, an oligarchy that has definitely proven to be the enemy of the state. We just saw today as well the video put out of ISIS from 2 miles away on shore blowing up a naval ship, Egyptian naval ship. Just blew it out of the water. Weapons of destruction. And while you were talking about that, it just went through my mind while I was looking at some of the comments. I'm in chat while we're online or on air. A naval ship, a battleship, being blown out of the water by ISIS. This group that just popped up out of nowhere, supposedly.
They're going after the country of Egypt.
Yes. They have to establish the Levant. They have to definitely cover that. So,
right.
Egypt and Africa, basically one and the same. They're going to go in. You're talking about the Somalians. All this stuff is connected. Doug, you're a military vet, and I have to ask you a question. When we pulled out of Iraq, Obama stopped he put an end to the war. They took a foothold over. The military and the police in Iraq were not ready, supposedly, for to be able to stand alone, defend their country. We left so much equipment, military equipment, that was not either
crazy
or buried or what. Do you think that was with purpose, or what is the protocol on that?
Absolutely, it's supposed to be destroyed.
Okay.
Or sent back home.
Military procedure is that you destroy it. If you, let's say you have a tank, and you have to leave that, you have to make that tank so it can never be fired again.
Right.
Okay. You have to destroy that tank so that it can no longer be used as a weapon. Now, you don't have to destroy it so it can't drive. So if you have a Humvee or something with a 60 cal or some other devices, or 50 cal or some other devices mounted on it, you have to make those unoperable. But you don't have to destroy the Humvee.
But you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Not only did we leave the military equipment functional and leave it to be picked up, essentially we left the damn keys in it, if you want to be realistic, but we left munitions.
Right.
We replenished munitions. We replenished munitions as well.
Yes. We made
we would dump large volumes of munitions into an area that whatever coverage there was would simply walk away and let ISIS come in and claim it. As far as I'm concerned, those were prearranged pickups.
Really well.
The Syrian army was supposed to get 8 drops. And 8 drops were dropped. And this is all munitions. Okay, we're talking the big stuff.
Right.
The Syrian army received 1 of them. The rest of them were picked up by the Taliban.
Now, logistically speaking, because you guys you're educated, you understand the logistics of battle. With the technology we have today, would you say that was a common factor, that we would just accidentally drop 7 in the wrong location, right in the arms of the enemy, or would you say that was done with purpose, in your opinion, based on your knowledge?
It has to be purposeful.
I think it's all by design. I don't know whether the design is to continue to have them fight amongst themselves, or just to use up the weaponry so that more can be created. If you believe me, the administration loves the fact that ISIS is growing inside. Okay? They love this. As long as they've got a small little group over there doing something, it's really not that big of an issue, and we don't have any reason to get involved in it. So when you have an organization, and believe me, that all the beheadings and things like that, those are by design to instill fear into smaller armies. Right. And these armies are created out of farmers and little, they're not these sick individuals. Okay?
Well, it has a dual purpose. It instills fear, but it instills fear to drive the fearful into arms, to take up arms with them. So it's actually a recruiting tool as well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
there are more to it, but yeah.
I am so tired of all of this too, though, that I always come back to this. We need to just fix the frickin' problem here, and that other problem will begin to resolve itself. Whatever trouble we're left with after that, we can go clean it up. And
the problem is, Bill, and I'm trying to hit this home, is that shit is already here. We already.
Well, that's right. But if we get rid of what brought it here, we aren't going to be hampered by their reason for bringing it here and being victimized by what it is that they brought. If we get rid of them and fix our problem, we can deal with that shit, and we should.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's here. It is here. We know it, but at least we can handle it instead of having them handle us and being subject to what it is that they brought. There's no way I can't tolerate it anymore.
Exactly. So now I'm going to go back to the munitions and leaving the equipment and the strength of ISIS. We've watched them grow faster than even any army we've ever seen take over regions in the history of battle. I have never in my lifetime seen a movement that has been so effective and worked so quickly to take over regions. And since Obama called them ISIL, ISIL in his address, which L means Levant. I was the first one to tell people that.
That was the signal.
Call him ISIL. That was his signal to them to go ahead and move forward. Then the munition drop started. But while we're watching this whole bullshit with Iran's nuclear plan, which we already knew they've been building their bombs for probably decades. And regardless of what anybody wanted them to do, they've hidden their shit. They've built their weapon. They have weapons of mass destruction. But while we're not watching, we're watching Iran and this whole controversy and then leaving our guys over there as hostages without negotiating. What we're not watching is the fact that ISIS has munitions, and I watched the video. It was a weapon of mass destruction that blew up a battleship 2 miles out in the water, blew it to smithereens. They have that kind of weaponry. So what?
Well, we built ISIS and ISIL just about as fast as we built our armies up for the Second World War once we made the decision to step in.
Well, Bill, I have to ask Bill Bohart. I have to ask you a question because you were talking about the 3 stages of caliphate. Now let's go ahead and tie this together where all of that is concerned.
Okay.
We know that there was ISIS. We know that there was ISIL. Now they're going by Islamic State. And we got word today that Israel is having to really secure its borders, the perimeter, the entire now perimeter of Israel. They're not just fighting Palestine on a regular basis. The Levant is that region around Israel as well. And we got word today that they had to step up the border security all the way around Israel. Now, even though Israel is only, less than 400 miles in perimeter, isn't that the entire nation of Israel? It's super small. So they're going
to have to take the Palestinian lands again too because it's crucial to their security. They're going to have to at some point pretty soon.
Well,
and Lebanon.
That was the whole idea of moving the line across the valley because it was impossible to defend that territory
right.
of the
the mountainous region there, that valley.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Bill Bohart. In your understanding of the 3 stages of jihad and the establishment of the caliphate, would you suggest that we're in the second stage in the Middle East, and I know for sure in the second stage in America?
I would absolutely agree with that. I would have to. I'm more inclined to believe that we're in the third stage in the Middle East, or at least in Syria and Iraq. Because they're already raging full-on jihad,
genocide,
not only against the Christians but against the the Shiite community and the Kurds. So that would be stage 3, and here they're at stage 2 because they've got their training camps established well. The Muslim Brotherhood is well established in Washington, D.C. So I would have to classify that as stage 2. Stage 1 was probably during the Clinton administration, Bush, the Shrub administration, the little Bush. That would have been stage 1. We're in stage 2 at this point.
The burning bush.
Okay.
I would say. I would add that I think London, Britain is knocking on the door of stage 3.
Yeah, they're 2.5, 3. I have to agree with that, Doug. Absolutely.
Okay, so now you're looking at the Western world invasion. We're looking at the stages of jihad and the caliphate. Now, the final stage of jihad...
Well, you could probably consider the events today with our 4 Marines and the one cop injured or wounded. That could be easily into stage 3.
Well, and that's not the first one either.
Right, exactly.
No.
Exactly. So they're on a full
I find it the way that they have attacked, with Fort Hood being attacked not once but twice, with the naval base on the East Coast not being attacked not once but twice. Now we see Chattanooga, Tennessee under attack, and they're all military facilities. They're all military posts. They have all been attacked by Muslims that they continue to call lone wolves or homegrown domestic terrorists.
Right.
We all know, by the way, that we're on that homegrown domestic terrorist list, correct? So that is another semantic that they're using to put into the minds of Americans, because not only does this paint a face in the minds of Americans and people across the globe.
Well, you have to also understand
with the Muslims.
Little Sally or Jimmy changes his name to I don't know what a female's name would be, but Muhammad, and then he decides to create chaos in his neighborhood. That's not necessarily a homegrown terrorist. Maybe he was born and raised there, maybe he was American, but he is facilitating the caliphate
internationally.
Right.
Right. So here we go, folks. If you don't understand what's going on, if you can't wrap your head around it and you think we're just a bunch of nutcases sitting on here, listen, history has unfolded and given you the truth, and it's still occurring today. You can look at the actions across the Middle East, and if you think for a minute that there is not a very broad statement that they're making, number one is that our military is weak, that our country is weak, its people are weak. We've allowed the caliphate to come into this country without resistance, and we need to show some serious resistance. As far as my brothers and sisters with the Great Britain Association and the EDL over there, the Defense League, the British Defense League, the BDL, I've told them time and time again, they complain and get out in the street and rally, but I've told them, go into those no-go zones at night, dress up in burqas, and drag those bastards that are policing your streets and wreaking havoc on your country into a back alley and put them in a coma. Dress up in a burqa so CCTV doesn't know who the hell you are.
Chain around their neck and drag them the hell out of there.
Exactly. Use their tactics against them. And do it in a way that doesn't put your family and your lives in danger, but do something, because they're unarmed in Britain. And believe me, folks, they're going to continue to push the gun issue here in America after this shooting. And it was a domestic terrorist. No, it wasn't. It was an international terrorist that has been imported into our country. And probably his family was well paid for the sacrifice of his life by our very own government. And I'm not saying I can prove that. I'm just going on what I know that our government that is really not.
Well, and you have to understand, you're dealing with a cult that takes pride in death. They take honor in death. They're not afraid.
And they
look at that differently than we do.
Listen.
Hey, well, guys,
go ahead.
Understand this, guys. This 24-year-old guy, that's how old he is. This 24-year-old guy owned his own home. And This is not a small home. This is a big, nice brick home. And, that just doesn't happen unless you're well supported. And if they claim that they've got, in 50 states and they're investigating all of these potential things going on, how in the hell does this guy notify ISIS that this is going to occur at a certain time, and 15 minutes prior, ISIS sends out a post saying Chattanooga, that's all it says, and without us knowing about it? We had to have known about it. They don't care if these things go on. They wish there were more of them that were going on. That way the American people would...
I don't know how accurate this comment was, but I got a comment on my first post, my Obama's Jihad for Truth Uncensored, that the Defense Department, let me see if I can find this, had sent out condolences prior to the attack.
Was it prior to the attack or prior to the announcement that anybody was killed?
Yeah, that's what I'm not
sure.
No,
it was 15 minutes prior. It was posted up 15 minutes prior to the shooting.
Prior to
the shootings or to the...
Pentagon offered condolences before any deaths were announced.
No. It was before the shooting. And there was
I don't know what the details are on that. It was just a comment, so I have nothing at all to back it up.
Well, those are time-stampable. That'd be easy to verify. And if that's the case, it needs to be everywhere.
Yeah.
It was at 8:47.
Bill, I see that you saw that and put a question mark on it. You saw a comment.
It was 8:47 p.m. It was 8:47 p.m. It was by the police department announcing that the shootings occurred at 9 p.m. And somebody said, well, different time zones. No. If it was tweeted out by that police department, it would have tweeted out in their time zone. It wouldn't have been a change of time zone on the tweet.
Well, what I'm saying is this.
What are you talking about? You're talking about the shooting on ISIS today?
I'm talking about the 4 Marines today.
Yeah, to the ones today. So if they did actually, whatever time they made that announcement that there was those killings and who was killed, there's a timestamp on that. And there's also there's probably, I don't know, at least 100 or 200 timestamps of individuals on the streets all around there that started making phone calls and oh shit and hiding behind cars and buildings when that stuff went down. So if the Pentagon actually made an announcement 15 minutes before the first guy ducked behind a car, then there's a big problem that needs to be posted in the most outrageous, explosive way possible.
Well, the tweet that I got, the picture of the tweet from Pam Geller, not only does it not have a timestamp, it does not have a date on it. And when you tweet out, you have a timestamp. Well, so what I was saying though about today, because there is word out there that supposedly the Department of Defense, was that what it was, Bill?
The Pentagon.
Oh, the Pentagon. They announced these killings either before...
They offered condolences.
Right, before the murders were announced or before it was reported that this was even happening.
Right.
So, you could verify
that. I hate to cut everybody off. God, I could do this show for another 3 hours easily, I know. But we're about to get cut off. Our 30 minutes is up on the overage. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming to the panel. I do apologize again for having to do this, but when it kicks us off, we'll be in mid-sentence, and I don't want the listeners to be hanging. So we will have a show tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to do a weekly recap. At that time, I'm going to be able to report anything else that we're going to find out about today's events, anything else about the if they can find out who made the bomb threat on the CDC, and we're going to move forward on this tomorrow with all the events that are taking place and with the movement of Jade Helm right here in Texas. Guys, thank you so much for coming. I do appreciate it. Without you guys, we're nothing. Each and every one of you, Bill Bohart, Bill D., Doug McDougall, they co-host with us from time to time. I want to thank you guys for coming on today and supporting the show and helping me get it done.
Hey, Becky, real quick, if once the names come out of the Marines, people do research on them real quick, find out who they are, what they liked, what they didn't like, find out if this was a hit on purpose. Something smells bad about this.
Yep.
Yeah, it does to me as well, and I would like to invite you gentlemen back on the panel tomorrow to go over that, if you would not mind. If 4 o'clock is too early, we can do it again at 4:30. I know that people work, so you guys tell me what time is good for you, and I'll make sure that's the time that I set the show up for.
That's going to be hard for me to make it, probably, because I'm going to have guys here that have to do some fencing. I'm in dire need of
what is this?
So
I'm gonna.
I may not be able to make it. I will absolutely try to, though.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. So I'm going to schedule it then. I'll go ahead and make it for 4:30 p.m. tomorrow. That makes it a little bit easier for everybody that has to work. You guys.
That's your time. 5:30 your time, Bill.
Right.
It's fine. Is
okay.
That good for you,
2:30 mine. Well, I'll do the best that I can. I mean, absolutely, I'll do the best that I can. If something comes up in the middle of the day, I can either mute out or come back.
Sure. All right. Until tomorrow, we are nothing without you listeners. I want to thank you for being on. Share this archive with your friends, people, we need to start organizing, get informed. Knowledge is power, but it's only powerful if we put it into action. So keep that in mind. Everybody keep your head on swivel and report anything that you see that may be out of the ordinary. America is under attack, and God bless, and I'll see everybody tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is Becky Williams with Rage Against the Regime. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, now if I can get it to end.
Thank you for listening to Rage Against the Regime Radio. Don't be a stranger. Please like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at RATR Podcast. And feel free to leave some feedback whenever you listen to us. You can also email us at rageagainsttheregimepodcast@gmail.com.